Welcome everyone to the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Monday, October 21st, 2024. I'll read the land acknowledgement. The municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges it is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to generations of people who have taken care of this land, including the Chippewas of Thames First Nation, the Muncie Delaware First Nation, and the Oneida Nation of the Thames. Roll call, Councillor Kennis is absent and he has given his proxy to Councillor Brennan. Motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Palmer, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll go to the first public meeting, which is public meeting to consider the application for zoning bylaw amendment for 29 Caradoc Street South, Strathroy, Aries and Anita Fernandez. Motion to open the public meeting. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. Mr. Williams, you have a report to present to council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yes, this is a rezoning application for the property at 29 Caradoc Street South in Strathroy. This is at the east side of Caradoc Street, just south, or at the southern corner of Condor and Caradoc Street. This is a property that it has an existing residential home on it that was rented out in the past. This was then sold to the current owners. The current owners are looking to develop the property as a commercial site. You may remember driving by this site as it has a number of it has a fence that has a number of advertisements along the side of it on Caradoc Street. So as part of this application, one of the items is to increase the visibility of the dwelling, which would be a future commercial use, by removing those fence structure. So what we have tonight is a request for the property to be rezoned to C1. It's a site with the site-specific deviation to allow for the driveway to run from the street along the east side of the building into the back where the parking would be located. They're proposing enough parking for retail, offices, and similar uses like that that would be permitted in the C1 zone. This property requires a planting strip to be between the driveway and that fence and property line. And what they're proposing is to change that to a fence from a planting strip. Directly adjacent to the property on the east side here is a residential home. As part of the process, the applicants has spoken with those neighbors, and they expressed to the current owners that they were supportive of the work that they were proposing in terms of a fence going along that property line. The zoning bylaw that is before council this evening, or the draft zoning bylaw that's before council this evening, speaks to that. So it's a 3-meter planting strip changed to a requirement for a fence. There's also the requirement for site plan approval to occur on the property as part of this process, planning process. And this would address one of the comments that were received from the Conservation Authority. These lands are within the floodplain area, and as such, the Conservation Authority just wants to confirm that if there are parking spaces proposed in the rear yard, that they would be at an elevation that wouldn't result in those vehicles being flooded out. We know that this is a neighborhood, and it's a long distance from the river. However, this is one of those features in the area that we need to take a look at, and it's just a function of being a fairly flat area that doesn't drain as well. And so those parking spaces just need to be approximately a foot higher than sort of average grade in this area. So that's sort of the notes, the comments from different departments, just no objection from engineering and alike, just noting that site plan would be necessary. In terms of consultation, as noted here, there haven't been any comments or concerns raised from the public up to this point. And in terms of an open house, we didn't do that for this type of application, given the nature of the application and given that they're not proposing to change the building in its current state, just renovations internal. And it's for all of these reasons, and the report goes into the policy related matters, but it's for all of these reasons that planning staff are supportive of the application and having it move forward. And as such, there is, it's meeting the provincial policy statement, the county and local official plans, and that's why it's receiving support from planning staff tonight. There is a copy of the zoning bylaw on council's agenda this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any comments in support of the rezoning? Okay, seeing none. Any comments in opposition? Yep, come on up and introduce yourself and step to the podium. Here. Yep, right there.
Hello, I am Kyle, and I live on and own the property right next to 29.
Can I ask your last name, please?
Kyle Moisey.
Okay.
I guess we were the residents that were consulted and approved upon what the statements just made, but we haven't made any statements in approval of wanting to have this happen. We're actually very against any commercial property being built and being changed from residential property. So I don't know why it was said that we approved for that. For our reasoning for a few points, I also submitted this to the clerk, and I got a notification that they received it. Apparently that wasn't. I got an email today, in fact, that they received the email, and it has a lot of my points that I read out beforehand. The main, one of the main issues we have is just public safety and increasing the traffic on our small residential street. Our street is located right next to Metcalfe and Caradoc, which is one of the busiest intersections in the town, and for the ability to turn left onto our street from that main road, we only are allotted one little spot to turn left. So it's been a nightmare for wanting to turn into our road where the entrance to the building would be proposed. And it'll clog it. A lot of the times when you're trying to turn left, there's only room for one vehicle to turn left. It's backed up a lot of the time due to the train coming and going, and the traffic in that spot really gets terrible. So sometimes you're waiting there to turn left a very long time, and what happens is all the vehicles piled up after a train leaves. There's a lot of traffic backed up, and a lot of people don't follow the road lines, and they go into the turning lane in the center of the road. And a lot of times when we're trying to turn left into our road, we get kind of head-on traffic from people trying to jump the line to get ahead of everyone else. So that's a main issue that we wanted to bring forward. Just the traffic is really backed up there all the time, and it's not safe to turn left into our street. If we usually have another point. Concord Street itself, the street that we live on, is very small, narrow street, and as it stated, it floods pretty constantly. We haven't had any like improvements to the sewage on that line at all, so most of the driveways will flood most of the time. It causes a pretty bad situation for that, and this street itself is very narrow, so no construction vehicles or no delivery vehicles can actually turn around on our street. A lot of the time what they have to do is they have to back up into Caradoc Street and halt traffic completely just so they could back up enough to move on from our street. So that's another issue. Our street is very small, so the wide nature of the street would be disturbed by additional traffic from commercial property. And ultimately, we just don't want a commercial property next to ours, as we view our street as a residential zone with families and a lot of new people moving in. And I think that taking this property away from the ability to have it for, really the property represents like it's an affordable housing option for people to have, for renting, buying. I know we moved here on our streets because there's smaller houses, they're more affordable. So the whole reason we live in Strathroy in the first place was because of those options. So I think removing that from people too is kind of not nice. And that's all I have to say. Sorry if it was a little rambly. Not used to making council speeches. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments and questions from members of council? Councillor Palmer.
Just looking at a Google map, and it looks like there is a left-hand turning lane onto Concord, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then the other question I had for the planner was the property adjacent, behind it, 43, 42, Zone C1, I believe that's municipally owned property, correct?
That's correct.
Would changing the zoning of this property have any effect on future development of that property?
No.
Councillor Pelican.
Just for curiosity's sake, through the mayor, to either the planner or the owner, are you planning on replacing the building or using the existing building?
The existing building. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, motion that the public meeting is to consider the application for a zoning bylaw amendment for 29 Caradoc Street South be hereby closed. Someone to bring a motion, Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Hippel. All in favor? Carried. There are two motions in front of us. First is that the zoning application be received for information. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. Unless otherwise, motion that bylaw number 99-24 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for consideration and approval. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Public meeting number 2, motion to open the public meeting. Councillor Brennan, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is an application at the corner of McKellar and Scott Street. It's on the northwest corner. Previously had a home on the property which was removed. Well, I believe there was a fire there, and then the building was removed. The owners of the property have explored a number of different options for the property, and at the moment are proposing a semi-detached dwelling. The R1 zone category allows for single detached homes only, and so the request is for the zone category to change to R2. and that would allow for the single or semi-detached dwelling that they're proposing. The existing property had, or the existing home had a driveway along Scott Street. They're proposing a driveway along Scott Street in the current proposal. There is a corner piece of the property that is within that conservation regulation area. Same reason from the previous one, previous application, is that there are certain low-lying areas in this area. They're not proposing to have the dwelling in the area that is within the regulation. However, they will need to consult with the Conservation Authority post a rezoning if it is successful, to ensure that they've met all of the requirements of the Conservation Authority. So the Conservation Authority has provided comments in this case, or this file, and noted that that would be necessary. As well, engineering staff have also provided comments, just providing, well, the comment being no objection to this application. However, they will need to work with staff to have a new sanitary and water connection to the building. The only site-specific request on this particular application is to have a driveway slightly wider than what's permitted. And you'll see on the drawing, it shows 20 feet once you get to the curb. Well, that is at the property line, but then goes to the curb, but wider for the driveway leading to the garage. And this is just a function of the fact that this is a semi-detached. If this was two different lots, so it's going to be all on one property, but if it was on two different lots, they would be permitted to have approximately 4-meter driveway. But given that it's all going to be on one driveway, one lot, the driveway has to be 7.3 meters. And so they're just asking for this, I'll call it a variance from the rules, a deficiency to be addressed. Which is the equivalent of a couple of feet, 2 feet, one for each of the garages. So that's the proposal, sort of in a nutshell. The larger plan just shows that driveway in the center of the property a little bit better than the previous. Scott Street being on the bottom and McKellar being on the right-hand side of that drawing. And it's just, this is more north-south sort of drawing than the previous one. So in terms of the policies, they're all laid out in the public, maybe I'll just say from a consultation perspective, we didn't receive any comments or concerns from the neighbors prior to tonight. However, I've learned from just last meeting that I should maybe say the clerk may have received something, but I have not. With regards to the policies, they are found within the document, the report, but it is consistent with the official plans and consistent with the provincial planning statement. I know that that's the current planning statement as of yesterday. The provincial policy statement is no longer, now it's the planning statement from 2024. Staff are in support of the plan of this proposal and have recommended approval with a draft zoning bylaw attached to tonight's council meeting. I'm available for comments as necessary.
Thanks, Tim. Are there any comments in support of the rezoning? Yes?
Hi, my name is Susan Daguerre, and I'm not sure if I can ask questions or if I just have to say my thing right now.
Feel free to ask a question.
Okay, so my son is one of the owners of the properties on Scott Street South. There's currently 3 homes on that street. The home that was torn down, I think, was well known to most people in this room. We had a lot of problems when we moved in there, and there was a death on the front property, and after that, the house got torn down pretty darn quick. So I'm not sure this gentleman what he said about how many driveways there were going to be. Is it one or two? Is it a semi-detached home? Or two semi-detached, or?
Yep.
Yeah, so it would be two dwellings, one common driveway paired together to match up with those two garages. So each garage would go to each individual unit, it's a semi-detached, so there'd be one driveway reaching Scott Street, but it goes to two separate units and two separate garages.
Okay, because I do have concerns as a grandmother as well. There's a lot of little kids on that street, but it's a very short street and it's a very busy street for some reason. They drive fast and crazy as it is already, so our concern was how many other vehicles were going to have to be backing out of that driveway as well. I had something else to say. I remember now. Oh, this dwelling or dwellings are going to be owned by an individual, or are they going to be rented out?
Are you able to answer that, Tim? You don't have to, but if you're able to.
They hadn't indicated to us whether it was going to be rental or ownership.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's the end of my questions.
So I can assume that was comments in opposition to the development.
Oh, well, as an employee of the government, provincial government for many years, we're all familiar with the term NIMBY, not in my backyard, right? So we want to make sure that, of course, it's a beautiful street, busy street, but a nice area, big backyards, and we want to obviously maintain the value of. But having watched Realtor.ca tonight, I was kind of like not too concerned.
Okay.
Looks like we're doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll circle back. Were there any comments in support of the development? Okay. Any comments in opposition? Yep. Were you in support or?
I had comments for both.
Okay. Well, we'll let this gentleman go and. Yep. Go up here. Yep. And I apologize. I have my mic off.
Yes, I support comments.
You can do both. If you have both sides, go ahead.
Okay. So my name's Tim DeGare. I live right across the street from where this property is. I do support a new property being built there. It'll increase the value of the area, the property value of the area, and for the neighbors. It is a nice area, and that's pretty much really the support. If you want me to give my against, I'd first like to ask if the owner of the property is here tonight. And they are not. I would like to know who the owner of the property is.
Not sure that's a fair question if we can answer that or not. So I'll leave it up to Mr. Williams.
Well, it was at the beginning of the presentation, and it's also on the front of the application. It's Corbell Properties, Inc., and the applicant is Drew Stevenson. Drew and I have had a number of conversations. It's possible that he was unaware of this evening's meeting. When I realized that he wasn't on the list, I did send him a quick email and tried to give him a call this afternoon, but was unable to reach him.
Thank you.
Has Drew or Corbell asked any of the neighbors how they feel about this? You can't answer that. Is this a for-profit property?
I'm not sure those are questions that our planner can answer. I'm going to suspect that'd be.
Write them down.
Pardon me?
Someone can write them down.
Yeah.
Because I would like answers to all these questions before this proceeds. My neighbor, John and Emily, they, during the pandemic and after this property had been torn down, they were looking at purchasing it. They wanted to build a very similar property to what Corbell wants to build, and they were denied. They were told that there was absolutely no chance that this property would get rezoned. I'd like to know if that was true and why. Doesn't have to be today. I'd like to know the cost increase to property taxes for any existing residents. I'd like to know the infrastructure cost for the zoning rechange for any existing residents. I'd like to know the building or zoning cost, meaning any additional construction, sidewalks, road, paving for existing residents. I would like to know the parking limit of the building that's being built. And I would like to know if there's any planned parking on the roadside for Scott Street West. So those are my against. They're questions, and there's probably not answers for them tonight, but I would like answers to all those questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One other gentleman.
Good evening, thanks for inviting me. My name is Ivan Cohen. I live at 86 McKellar. I'm just around the corner from the subject property. And I was going to raise a similar sentiment to the last gentleman who was speaking. As I understand it, my neighbor had indicated an interest to purchase the property approximately 3 years ago and was told in no uncertain terms that you could not rezone the property to R2. It was going to remain as R1. So I don't like the sound of that. That, now somebody's bought it, now they're going after an R2 zoning. I'd like to know if the planning department had discussions with Corbeil in advance of him buying the property with respect to rezoning it to R2. Now, with respect to the application for zoning to R2, there are 3 schools on our street. There's already lots of traffic. One extra house is not going to create a whole lot, but I have the same concerns as my neighbor here. How many cars are going to be parked there? How many cars are going to be parked along the street? And the application that was on the screen was identified as semi-detached. So semi-detached, I assume, is 2 units, not more than 2. But it looks like the laneways are in the middle, which is basically 2 properties, as opposed to semi-detached, which are normally adjoining to each other and usually have the laneways on the outsides. So I'd appreciate clarification on that. Anyway, I'll voice my opposition. I'd like the property to remain as R1. Most of the other properties have larger laneways, or not laneways, but larger backyards. And keeping it as R1, I think, would maintain the same sort of look and feel as the rest of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Councilor Palmer.
I'm wondering, Tim, you could address the question about parking. I think that's a good one. How many vehicles will the semi park on the lot, and whether or not there will be parking allowed on the road in front? And then the other comment I had was for planning. Am I correct?
Can I just ask members of the gallery, just keep it down for us, please? Thank you.
There's a partial sidewalk on Scott, and do I recall there was a discussion about continuing that sidewalk? I could be confusing with another place, but it would only actually be half of the street because there is a short sidewalk there already on the opposite side from the semi. But I don't know whether you can confirm or not that that is planned to continue that sidewalk over to, I guess it would be Milner.
Mr. Williams?
I'd be happy to start to answer the questions that the councillor has asked, and also responding to some of the comment about parking. So each of the units on a semi-detached require 1.5 parking spaces, and so that would be a total of 3 parking spaces are required for this type of development. They're proposing 4, so that's 2 inside the garage, 1 for each of the dwelling units, and then 1 on the driveway in front of the garages. This would then they would reach the property line, and then there will be some boulevard there, but it's narrower at that point. The reason why this was done is so that the 2 driveways would be paired together, so that there would be less breaks in that street frontage, which is important because we are dealing with the stop sign there. People are going to be coming around the corner right-hand turn. People will come through that intersection, and we wanted them to be further back. If the driveways were separated and then put 1 on either end of the building, they'd be much closer to the intersection, and that's not an ideal scenario. So putting them in what I would call the middle of the building because that building is split in half, that allowed the driveways to be paired, so we have less access points onto the road, and that it's further down away from the intersection. So that was not exactly the question that you would ask, but it's kind of related to the parking situation. There would be a distance away from the intersection that we would not want to see cars parked on the street. After that point, cars could be parked further, I would say, west of the proposed driveway, although I'm not familiar with the parking, no parking on this street here. I think that it allowed, when I drove by, I wasn't paying enough attention to that particular detail. I can't remember if there was another part to the question. There was about a sidewalk, and I don't know the answer to that question.
Not sure if someone can answer that, maybe Mr. Ortiz can look it up, but while he's doing that, any other questions from members of council? Councillor Peltman.
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor to the planner, is the drawing on the last page of the report what is intended to be built?
Through the mayor to Councillor Peltman, that would be the elevation, and it's a floor plan of the building, and yes, that's the
So single story, no basements on a concrete slab?
Yes.
All right, so the reason why I'm asking is when I was living on Tanton Street, on Head Street, at the corner of Head Street and Scott Street East, there was a very similar type of semi-detached built on a concrete slab. So when you're looking at the drawings, I see a maximum of 2 bedrooms, maybe only 1 given the size. So that does have an effect on how many vehicles you can expect to be on in the driveway, because there won't be as many people living there if it's a smallish house. The property that was built on the corner of Head and Scott Street, visibly a nice piece of property. I live on a similar, when I was on Tanton Street, it was a similar piece of property where the depth didn't allow for a backyard, which actually allowed you to maintain the house nicer because you weren't spending a lot of money and a lot of time on a big yard. And not everybody wants a yard. So in terms of what could potentially be built on this piece of property, I actually think this is somewhat preferable maybe to a 2-story that might front on McKellar, like the old house was fronted on McKellar. I just think it's better traffic on Scott Street than McKellar, and I think given the size of the building that's being proposed, helps with the parking, and is an appropriate building to be placed on that property.
Any other questions? Councillor Brennan.
Well, I just wanted to chime in about the intersection of McKellar and Scott. And if you do take a look at the aerial, there's 4 row houses across the street, parking in behind away from the intersection. The old Wright House has the double driveway away from the intersection. If you go over towards 75, that intersection is an irregular shape, and this placement of the 2 driveways on Scott Street, I think, preserves the safety of that intersection by not having a driveway at the front right on McKellar. So in terms of traffic safety on McKellar, I think keeping the driveways on the side of the property on Scott is consistent with keeping that intersection free of cars pulling out of driveways. So I think it constitutes good planning.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns? Okay, I know Mr. Ortiz, be able to find the sidewalk question from Councillor Palmer. It's okay if you didn't. I didn't know it.
Through the mayor, no, I don't have the access to the current plan on the sidewalks. I can say that there's a sidewalk across the street on Scott Street, and that if we were to do a sidewalk improvement in that area, it would not be related to the proposed development that would be related to existing infrastructure.
Maybe you have a follow-up, Councillor?
I was just gonna say, having lived in that neighborhood before when I was on Adelaide Street, I believe the sidewalk that is there was probably installed by the Wrights when they built the house. Because it ends at their driveway.
Okay, all right, thank you. Seeing no further questions, motion to close the public meeting. Councillor Brennan, second by the Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried. Motion to receive the report for rezoning. Councillor Brennan, second by the Deputy Mayor. The motion is that bylaw number 98-24 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for consideration and approval. Someone ring Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pelkman. Any questions? See none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. There are 3 minutes to be approved tonight. One is the regular council meeting minutes of October 7th, council workshop minutes of October 1st, and the special county council meeting minutes of September 9th. Someone to bring a motion to approve. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Hippel. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. On to drainage matter is the Kovacs drain, the quarter revision. Motion to open the quarter revision. Councillor Derbyshire, second by Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried. I don't know who's going to deal with this tonight, CO, but I know there are no appeals to the drainage. Are there any questions from members of council? Okay. Seeing none. Decision and motion are the council receive report EPW 2024-78, the Kovacs drain. The subject to any appeals, provisional bylaw number 87-24 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for third and final reading. Someone to bring a motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pelkman. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion to close the quarter revision. Councillor Brennan, second by the Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried. There are 5 correspondence in front of us this evening. The first is a video from the Strathroy Middlesex Hospital Foundation, Community Futures, Middlesex Building Foundations, Strathroy Project. Now, Clerk, were we going to show that? I think it's of interest to the public.
Okay, certainly, Chair. Just give me a moment to load that if you would like to proceed to item 7.2.
Sure.
Cue that up.
7.2 is a resolution support of Southwest Community Transit Services. Does anyone wish to speak to that? Okay.
Oh, before we,
Oh, sorry, Councillor Derbyshire.
thank you. Are we supporting this or not, or is that what it's asking for here?
Yeah,
This-
go ahead. Let the CAO.
Okay.
Through the chair to council, yes, before you tonight is a recommendation being put forth where Strathroy-Caradoc would support the motions that have been made by the other municipalities that are part of the Southwest Community Transit Services. This, again, as council is aware, is our inter-community transit system that we have received provincial funding for, which is set to expire in March of 2025. And so this resolution is, again, continuing to look for support for the continuation of funding for this program.
Yep, go ahead, Councillor Derbyshire, then I'll speak to it. You go ahead.
Thank you. That was going to be my question. We're asking the provincial or federal government for support, not trying to band more of these together and support this ourselves. This is asking for.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, so through the chair to council, yes, this is having Strathroy-Caradoc put their voice forward alongside these other municipalities in a recommendation to the province of Ontario to continue funding this program.
Yeah. So I can speak to it too, Councillor, without the provincial funding, for lack of a more elegant term, this project would be dead in the water, because I don't think any local municipality has the appetite to fund it. I sit on the executive of the transit, I think it's SCRT, but many discussions. We've had delegations to the Minister of Transportation trying to go to the province and you have to keep paying for this, because the local municipalities can't pay for it. So that's the purpose of this resolution.
So through yourself to our CAO, so when, if we don't get the funding and in 2025, when this all comes to a halt, are we prepared, like do we have a plan in place? How, I mean, because obviously this, we do have residents, I don't know what the numbers are, but we do have residents that are using it, so are we prepared to have, yes, we do have a plan in place?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair to council, so our Commissioner of Economic Development is coming back in November with a quarterly report on economic development, and this will be part of that discussion and explain to council sort of what our, you know, how do we foresee this moving forward, and if we don't receive provincial funding, the recommendation is, you know, this is not something I see that we as a municipality will be able to afford, and then we would have to put a communication strategy in place. But there'll be more information coming forward as part of the Commissioner of Economic Development's report.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just one.
Go ahead,
follow-up.
Councillor.
So this is simply just a request for funding where we're not negotiating percentages or anything like this. This is simply, please give us funding, and then you'll come back to us and say they either have funding or don't funding, and then we move forward from there. We're not negotiating.
Through your chair, this is just one further avenue of the municipalities advocating to the province for the continuation of this service. There's no commitment, there's no agreement in place. It's just another tool of this council saying it's an important service, please continue to fund it.
Councillor Wilsey.
Just a housekeeping thing. In the second whereas, in the ones that are going to be read out, we should change the word have to the word half, H-A-L-F, so we can say how many riders were in the first half of 2024. Just a typo.
Okay, clerk, did you have the video line? I'm waiting for somebody to bring a resolution. Somebody want to bring a resolution of support? Councillor Pelkman, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. I think it's important to show this video because this was an initiative by council, so I think it's...
If you're going to show it, I'll declare a pecuniary interest because I'm involved in that organization.
Okay. Thank you. I think it's important for the public to see it because there was a lot of good work that was done by the community and by council.
This just kind of grew out of some...
Apologize, I have to figure out the audio.
This just kind of grew out of some free thinking.
It became bigger and cooler and more community oriented than we had initially envisioned.
We came up with this concept of creating a partnership between the local high school, the municipality, and the foundation. In this partnership, the municipality donated 6 lots. They provided the services, they put in this road. So they have a construction technology program over here at Holy Cross. So we thought it'd be a great idea if we got the high school students involved. At the end of the day, the profits from this are going to go to the foundation and they're going to support the new MRI. So you look at it and we help 3 issues, right? We help with funding for the hospital, we help with the skilled trades for the youth, and we've helped with affordable housing. So very creative solution.
It's great to have students working with the tradesmen, to have them on the site, seeing and feeling the real tools.
They go from being like boys and girls to men and women. It's incredible. You're putting them with working professionals And once they get that acceptance from the tradespeople, man, their confidence just like explodes. It's awesome.
Community Futures Middlesex realized that this was a really unique opportunity that had great outcomes for not only the hospital, but the community, the kids that are involved. One of the big advantages to borrowing from Community Futures is that we were able to get a really attractive lending rate. They've been great to work with.
I found them to be very, very helpful, and they've been very flexible in just pushing back that balloon payment, and that was something we needed. So they've been great to work with. It's not one person, right, who makes something like this happen. It's a whole community. It's a lot of people have to agree that this is a worthwhile project.
It's not just working with a builder and building a house, it's building a community as well.
Thank you for that. And I just, you know, I hear from the community a lot about what is municipality doing to help with healthcare, and I think that's something that the town, municipality, and council needs to be proud of. I believe it realizes a profit of just over $1 million towards the foundation. So kudos to everyone who was involved. Now, that was a tremendous initiative. Thanks for playing that, Brandon. Can somebody get the deputy mayor and we'll let him return? You just leave him up there. Oh, there he is. I thought you went out.
No.
We have 3 correspondents left: the Thames Valley District School Board, the attendance report, the Ontario Big City Mayors, and the September 2024 payment listing. Were there any of those correspondence anyone wishes to speak to? Councillor Wilsey.
I just quickly want to address 7.5 and just say that this one is much easier to read than previous ones, and I think that's is what we were looking for. If there's specific things to talk about, I think we should probably talk about that in finance, but that's just maybe some of the different, all the different cell phone bills, the different things like that. See if there's a way to get maybe on one bill to save that cost. I think that's probably a finance meeting thing.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Derbyshire.
Thanks, thank you. I'd just like to address 7.3, and I guess through you to the CAO or whoever kind of deals with this. I know they are asking for us to participate in this, where they're looking to move students out of these schools that do affect residents of Strathroy-Caradoc. I know it does talk about Adelaide Metcalfe too, and the proposal of new schools. So I just, maybe we should be sitting at the table at least, or having our voices heard. So I don't know whether we are to direct someone to get back to them, or whether we are just into it with it, or.
Through the chair to council, so if council would like to, excuse me, put a resolution on the floor, and certainly I can reach out and inquire of how the municipality as an entity can participate in these conversations. There will be public meetings and public consultation. This was an email that was received and pushed on into the agenda for information. So if council would like to provide direction, we certainly can take that direction.
Would you like to bring a motion for that effect, Councillor Derbyshire?
Yeah, I guess I would bring a motion not to provide a resolution, but to be a part of the conversation and kind of solution to what's going on, to make sure we have our residents' best interest in mind. So.
You had a motion? You have a seconder for that motion, Councillor Hippel. Was that a question or second?
Both.
Okay. Okay, you second, now you can ask your question.
Okay, awesome. Yes, that's it. I wanted to talk to this, but I wasn't entirely sure what our role in something like this would be, because I mean, within our municipality, we have a lot of elementary schools, whether they're Christian, Catholic, or public, and obviously this is also affecting Adelaide Metcalfe. So I don't know if we need to protect the interests of our residents, and but I don't know if we actually know enough to sit at the table and give advice, or, I mean, we can always give feedback, but I'm not sure what kind of, I think what I'd like to do, now I'm rambling, let me just stop for a second. I think what I would like to do is, I think I'd like to have someone like Arlene Morale and come and kind of talk to us and explain what is transpiring, maybe more so that we can understand the movement and what the movement from each school and each area of our municipality to another area, how that's going to affect each of the schools, how it's going to affect the areas in which the children and families live, et cetera, et cetera. And we also have an awful lot of school administrators that we would also need to, be involved in this. So where I think it's a good idea that we sit at the table because it's important, but at the same time, I'm not sure if we have enough information to do that just yet.
Go to Councillor Brennan, then Councillor Pelkman.
Thank you, Your Worship. The line that jumped out at me was the timeline for submitting a business case for the new school to the Ministry of Education depends on how quickly housing developments in the North Meadows secondary plan area progress and when new students arrive. I think that the school board is going to be looking to us to be able to give them information about how the North Meadows secondary plan is going to progress, and when we think that we're going to have a population in there, so that they're going to be able to say, okay, well, when those students arrive, we need to have a school in place. So I think we do need to be able to provide the school board with that type of information. So maybe that's our role in all of this, and we certainly do that. But then there's so many variables here because we'll be waiting to see, you know, when that land goes up for sale and who buys it and what the market's like and how long it takes to fill that area in with houses. And when that's all full, they want to have a school there. So I think we need to be able to talk to them about the timeline. And so, yeah, we should be providing them with some information if we have.
Councillor Pelkman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when we did the North Meadows secondary plan, the school board was consulted in the first place, and they indicated at that point that they would likely provide a school in there. And if you look at the secondary plan, there's a spot for a school in the secondary plan. So having been involved around when Mary Wright was built and also Holy Cross and SDCI, certainly the planning department is going to be heavily involved to make sure that there are things like a proper drop-off area so we don't have the problems that we have with St. Vincent de Paul School. Because without the pressure, the drop-off at Mary Wright would have been non-existent. They didn't want to put one in. So we have to make sure that we have a voice there. As far as the shuffling of students around prior to the school being built, I don't think there's that's not our business. But the placement of a new school and the drop-off area and the traffic flow is definitely our business. So we should be heavily involved at that point.
Okay. Councillor Palmer, then Councillor Derbyshire.
Yeah, I was just going to, I agree with Councillor Pelkman and Councillor Brennan that, you know, we'll be certainly called upon for the planning piece. I do, however, feel a little bit that maybe the community consultation piece, we have local trustees that are, you know, and I think that that's their their responsibility to the constituents of Strathroy-Caradoc is to represent them with the school board in these types of decisions. I almost feel like we're kind of crossing into an area that's not our jurisdiction. We have elected trustees, and that's what they're empowered to do, is to speak for the local residents. So outside of the planning part, I think we should leave the rest to the local trustees.
Okay. You had a follow-up, Councillor Derbyshire?
I guess I didn't know where we were going. It seemed like we had to give direction to somebody to do something. My point is, make sure we're involved in this. Don't wait till the end and then go, well, we didn't realize. That's all I'm saying. I don't care what side you want to do, where you want to go, or how you want to do it. Just email back to them and say, I'd like to be involved. That's, I guess, where I was going with this. I didn't want it to be telling you what part you should be involved in.
And I'm gonna call for the vote, but I would agree with you, Councilor Bishar. I think just some kind of a communication that says we received it, we're here to talk to us.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? So could you read the motion as it is?
Sure. Through the chair to members of council, the current motion moved by Councillor Derbyshire, seconded by Councillor Hippel, that staff be directed to be part of the conversation and resolution to ensure residents' best interests.
What do you want to say?
Councilor, would you be willing for a friendly amendment or a change that says we ask the CAO to acknowledge receipt of the report? And I'm gonna look for some verbiage here, the wordsmiths that we asked to be part of the process or just to follow up. I'm looking for help in something. Understand what we're trying to get done here. We just want to let them know we got it and reach out to us at the appropriate time.
If I may impart some other information, how this came out is our planning staff met with the school board's planning staff, and this information was shared. So there was already meetings taking place. But certainly, if the intent is we can send a letter acknowledging receipt of this and our wish to continue to be involved in all further correspondence and conversation.
Perfect.
Is that what you wanted?
I think that's vacant.
You okay with that wording, Councilor Derbyshire? It's
I
your
really,
motion on the floor.
you can pull the whole damn motion if we're already involved in going forward with it. I mean, it really, I guess this is just for information. It sounded like you were looking for some sort of resolve or solution out of this, but if you're already into it, I don't need to tell you what to do.
Okay.
So I just yanked the motion.
I would agree with
Okay,
that.
let's do that then. How about this, since we've dealt with them? How about a motion to council to receive the communication items for information? You have to receive Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Derbyshire. All in favor? Carried. I received them all together.
Start.
All of it.
Yeah, I received all of them
Including
together.
one just
Yep.
now? Okay.
Received them all together.
Okay, thank you.
Two notices of motion to be dealt with at the next meeting. Reports from departments, financial services. Motion to receive report FIN 2024-22, section 357. Motion to receive, Councilor Brennan, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Mr. Dakin.
The report before council tonight is the reduction of the commercial tax portion of the property located at 40 Caradoc Street North, and adding the residential portion. So that would result in a credit for 2024 of $1,077.79.
Any questions of the director? Motion that the application for 40 Caradoc Street North be approved for processing. Councilor Brennan, second by Councilor Hippel. All in favor? Carried. Motion to receive report FIN 2024-23 for information. Someone, Councilor Wilsey, second by Councilor Hippel. All in favor? Carried. Mr. Dakin.
Similar to the report just before this one, this is also an application for reduction of the property taxes now that the building, the residential building has been demolished at this address of 8691 Switzer Drive. The result will be $1,198.31 credit for 2024.
Any questions of the director? Councilor Pelkman.
Yes, thank you, through the mayor to the director. Just as a point of clarification on the process, so a new house was built. I'm assuming they've moved into the new house, and has the new house been added to the tax rolls yet, or is there a lag there? I'm just curious how it works in terms of where, obviously, when the old building gets torn down, whenever we're backdating that to change, but I'm just wondering if there's a lag in terms of new taxation for the new house.
Through the chair to Councilor Pelkman, I believe the new residential has been added to the property. Typically that's done at occupancy and is backdated back to that occupancy. So that would be, I can confirm that though. I don't have that number. But typically the way it works is it's based on occupancy and then they would make an application once they demolished. So I think the timing is such that we would receive our increase and then we'd be proceed.
Any further questions? Seeing none, motion that the section 357 application, Craig 69 1 Switzer Drive be approved for processing. Someone to bring the motion, Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. Building and Planning, 589 Victoria Street, the servicing agreement. Someone to bring a motion to receive the report. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. Tim, Tim's gone. Who wants to speak for that report?
Through the chair to council, you have the report in front of you. We do have Jake DeRitter, our senior development coordinator, through Zoom, if there are any specific questions to this report.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this report? Councillor Pelkman.
No questions, just a comment that this is a common sense solution to an issue that I think extends the life of our street while still protecting the interests of the municipality.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, there are two motions. The council approved the bylaw entering into a servicing agreement between the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc and Timothy Lawrence McDonald and Teresa Ann DeSantis, and further the bylaw number 100-24 be forwarded to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda. Councillor Pelkman, second by Councillor Brennan. Any further questions? Councillor Wilsey.
When I'm reading the agreement, it says if and when services are ran, with Victoria Street being County Road 81, are there not services down that? So wouldn't services be there now?
Okay, Jake, can you speak? Did you hear that question, Jake?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Could you answer that?
Yeah, there are services there now. The issue is there's no connection for that lot. So it would require the owner to dig up the road and install a set of services. So that's how the agreement was. You know, if and when we reconstruct that road, we would work with the owner to install a set of services for that lot.
Okay. Any other questions? See none. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Community Services. Motion to receive report CS 2024-45, 137 Frank Street for information. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Hammer. All in favor? Carried. Director Littlemore.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report in front of you this evening, the first part of the report is a bit of a history of the building. We found a discussion paper from 2010 which provides some great background with regards to when the building was first constructed and some of the renovations that have taken place since the original construction in 1902. It also talked about some of the challenges that at the time the Strathroy Area Seniors Council had with regards to succession planning for the board, the membership development, reducing dependence on fundraising, that sort of stuff. It also goes into a report that was presented in 2020 when the board or the council came forward looking for monthly support from the municipality during COVID-19. It talked about the number of paying members that the council had at the time, along with their average age, and some information with regards to the building condition assessment that was conducted in 2019. Talks about staff meeting with the board, or the chair of the board at the time, about their programming needs. Now, at a meeting at September 16th, council asked staff to go and review the facility along with the engineering of Public Works to assess the facility. So the Director of Community Services, the Director of Engineering and Public Works, along with the Supervisor of Property Management, toured the facility, It was noted at the time, the 2019 building condition assessment, that no work had been conducted that was recommended in the 2019 building condition assessment, that was the opinion of those that were touring the facility that the building has worsened since 2019, considering that no work had been done. It was also the discussion around if council is looking to obtain further information to provide precise information with regards to the condition, that another building condition assessment be conducted to provide further information. The building has further decayed since 2019, and the building has sat empty for the last 4 years with minimal heat and minimal cooling taking place in that facility. It was noted that there is several areas on the perimeter of the building that has spalling of the brickwork. There is several areas with step cracking that is witnessed on the exterior of the property, as well as a portion of the building seems to be sinking, and there's been attempts to reduce any water infiltration into the property by staff by extending some flashing work. So staff have provided images of some of those areas. It should also be noted that staff have been accessing that facility as it has been deemed surplus to the municipality's needs, and have been utilizing furniture, fixtures, and equipment inside that facility for other locations within the municipality, specifically toilets, sinks, counters, cabinets, AODA compliant door openers and closers, and so on. So to reduce the need or the expense of other departments, we felt it beneficial to access those assets. So staff are available for any questions should the council have any.
Any questions? Councillor Palmer.
Not a question, just a comment. Thanks for the report. I think that was great and gave a lot of good context to what we're dealing with. I guess firstly, a couple of comments. For me, and being a downtown business owner, I think that it's very important we retain some parking in the core, particularly with the new Performance Arts Center hoping to come on board in the next couple of years and open up. We do have a bit of a parking problem. So maintaining the parking, I think, is very important. The municipality retain that. As far as the building, the other thing that I'm glad you mentioned in your report was we did do a downtown master plan, visioning plan a couple of years ago. And one thing that was highlighted in that plan is that this area is a gateway. It's a gateway to parkland. Other communities often do a lot of interesting tourism sort of things around their parkland and around the river, which we have going through the downtown. So this piece of property, again, speaks to me as being really important to the core because it is part of that gateway that leads you into the parkland, which can be really good for commercial and for, just engaging the public in the downtown. But to me, it doesn't make sense, and this is my thinking, is to go and figure out what it will cost to open the door of this building if we don't really know what the purpose would be. Because the purpose, I think you outlined in your report quite well, is that there's been some shifting in terms of senior services and how services and programming gets delivered to seniors specifically. And I'm just wondering if we as a council want to take another approach, which would be to look at what is the need, what is our recreational need, and I'm looking at this as more of a recreational, obviously, than residential. What is our recreational needs in the community? What are we missing? If we could renovate this or create something, what is needed in the community, and then go out and cost to do that, as opposed to cost to patchwork this so we can open the door and then what do we do with it? Like, what purpose is it serving in the community? So that's my thought on this piece of land, and yeah.
Deputy Mayor, you had your hand up.
I did, thank you, Your Worship. So through you to basically council, just my comments, I would reiterate everything that Councillor Palmer has said. I agree wholeheartedly. I think we need to, and I will make a motion at the end of this, that we remove all 3 parcels of land from the surplus and bring them back into ownership. Well, they're already owned by the municipality, but take them off the surplus land, because I agree wholeheartedly. The need for parking and the gateway area must be maintained. Senior services, or services for seniors, I'm not quite sure how you would word that properly, is something I think we need to research. Probably should be done through community services. It seems the appropriate place to have that done. What is the community asking for, and what space do we have available currently, both in Ward 2 and Ward 1? I'm thinking West Middlesex Arena, Caradoc Community Center, perhaps the Westcast room during the day, I don't know. And then the opportunity for private-public partnerships with other community groups that already own buildings. So that could be the Legions, the Lions, everybody else will have, you know, your own buildings out in the community that perhaps are places where we could start having programs run and designate space for people. So, from my point of view, I think the first thing we need to do is remove these from the surplus. So with that, I would make a motion that we take immediate steps to take all 3 parcels of land referred to in this report, the 2 parking lots in the building, and have them removed from surplus.
You have a second here for your Councillor Palmer. Okay, we have a motion. Are there any questions, comments? Councillor Brennan and Councillor Pelkman.
I have 2 comments. One was, I thought the decision we were making right now is to determine whether or not we wanted to spend $10,000 to $15,000 for determining the current condition of the building. I think that's still on the table here. That's what this report's about. You know, we were saying, you know, do we need to determine, you know, what the condition of the building is? And so I don't know if we've resolved that yet. We want to spend $10,000 to $15,000, you know, on determining, you know, the condition of this building. I don't think we have a clear idea of, you know, what we'll do with the space. The fact that maybe we want to retain it, I guess, is an interesting idea. But I will point out that we just went through a strategic planning process, and nowhere in our strategic planning process was this building ever mentioned. We went through an exhaustive process talking about our infrastructure requirements for the next, was it 5 to 7 years, I think. And this building never came up. And so are we saying now that in our strategic planning, where we've laid out our, you know, the things that we want to get done over the next 5 or 6 years, we've determined what we want to do, this was not on it. And we're now going to go into a budget process, multi-year budget process. We're going to put how we're going to do those things. And now we're throwing in, it would seem, a wild card here, that, you know, by removing this from the surplus list, are we fueling another plan that we have not yet identified or that we're going to budget for? So in terms of our strategic planning process, I don't know where this fits. In terms of our multi-year budgeting that we talked about at length, I don't know where this fits. It seems to me that we're making a bit of an ad hoc, on the fly kind of decision here. And I'm not sure if taking these buildings off the surplus list is sending a clear direction to the community that we're sticking to our strategic plan. So those are my comments at the moment. Thank you.
Councillor Pelkman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A quick question first. Are the 2 parking lots different pieces of property than the senior center? Are they distinct individual pieces of property?
Through the chair to Councillor Pelkman, they're individual pieces of property, yes.
Okay. This is gonna sound weird because, you know, when you listen to the comments, it sounds like people are on different sides of the fence here, but I think actually Councillor Palmer and Councillor Brennan are both correct. I think, you know, the current building, when I was on the senior center board, was, there were some issues with it. I mean, the roof was redone while I was on the board, and it still leaked after the roof was done, specifically at the joining of what used to be the works garage and the older portion of the building. The layout of the rooms and the structural walls are in awkward places, making it difficult to do programming because you had to walk through one space to get to another. And that was problematic for programming issues. So I think determining what use of that property is, we already kind of know what the condition of the building is. It's more important to know what we want to do with it, and then look at what the cost would be of renovating it. You know, we do know that we have some programming space issues. We've heard about the stress that the Community Services Department is having in terms of finding space to run programs. Is this appropriate space and at what cost? Don't know that answer. However, just because we've declared the property surplus doesn't mean we have to sell it. And currently, right now, I don't think anybody on council is saying it's for sale. So we can control that and decide that at any point whether or not we want to retain those pieces of property and remove them from surplus or not. I do agree that parking, we need to maintain that, which is why I was asking why there were different pieces of property. I don't think we should ever sell those two pieces of parking, especially with the Wright Family Center coming on board, which leaves one smaller portion which may or may not be redevelopable. And I think that's a question we have to ask is if we tear down the building, can something else be built there or not? You know, can we build something big enough that is useful or not? And if not, then what can we put in its place to make it useful? So I think those are the discussions we need to have. That's probably more important than taking a look at the current status of the building and deciding, yeah, the roof is in worse condition than it was 3 years ago or 5 years ago. We know that. You know, that's some common sense. So
just gonna let Councillor Derbyshire in his hand. Councillor Derbyshire.
Sure, thank you. So I guess my question is through you to the director. So the parking lot is already a separate, like the one that is on its own over here on North Street is already separate, even though it was included in the sale.
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, the three parcels of land are separate parcels of land.
Okay, so then I think what we can do is probably a combination of both things. The two parking lots should no longer be surplus land, and we should take those back. You can still leave the senior center there, wherever the heck, but the parking lots, I do believe we should pull them off and keep them. Obviously, I think we're all in agreement of that. So if they are deeded separately, then they should be pulled off the surplus and kept as parking. If, I don't know how that affects your motion there, Deputy Mayor, but.
Mayor had his hand up.
Yeah. Well, thank you, because I just wanted to speak to Councillor Brennan and Councillor Pelkman and now you. So my motion, I just think the first thing we need to do is pull them off the surplus list. I agree. I'm not, as far as the parking lots, again, it looks like everybody's kind of in favor of keeping the parking lots. The building itself, I think we just pull it off the surplus list and park it. And we'll figure out what we want to do with that at some future budget meeting after getting a future report about what the community wants and where it should be. And remember, this is floodplain land. The first thing I did is spoke to the conservation area manager and got a quick insight from him. I'm not going to speak that because it's not an actual report, but it didn't take much to get a comment from him about that piece of property where the building sits. So pulling it off the surplus just means we don't want to sell it right now. I'm not saying we do anything with the building at all. Those are future discussions. The public then knows that the 2 parking lots are going to be ours. They're not for sale. We're not entertaining offers. And we'll figure out the rest as we get to a future budget.
One more, then I make a comment, then we'll have a...
Maybe a friendly amendment would be that for the sake of tonight, let's just pull the 2 parking lots off the surplus list. And let's think about the building and deal with that another time. But for tonight, your motion could be amended to just pull the 2 separate parking lots off the surplus list. And then we can consider at a future date what we want to do with the building. I'm just thinking in terms of what's achievable tonight in terms of hitting the parking idea, and maybe then deferring discussion of the building itself for a couple of weeks, and we all think about it a little bit, and then maybe it comes back. So I would say that's maybe
Are you making a friendly amendment?
just a friendly amendment that we just confine it to the 2 parking lots for tonight.
I mean, that's fine with me. It's 6 of one, half dozen the other. So I'll amend my motion to be that the 2 parking lot parcels of land are moved off the surplus, and the building itself, that parcel of land, just remain in its current state, and any other decision be deferred back to council the 2nd meeting of the new year. Just to keep it along.
Okay, Councillor Palmer, you seconded. Okay, we have an amended motion. I'll speak to this later in a minute, but all in favor of the amended motion? Okay. So I just want to speak to the part, I'm going to put this back on. So I agree. A lot of the comments that were made. Do we want to spend money on a single-use building? I don't know, but I did write comments that 14 years later, we're still at a lot of the same points that were recognized in 2010. The main one being considering rebranding the center to appeal to a broader demographic. So I'd like to actually put this back on staff to come back with a creative solution. I've heard what the deputy mayor has said about, I think I heard Councillor Pelkman, you say it before, that there are other buildings we could probably use and partner with other people. So before we make any decision, I would like to see a report. I'll bring a motion from staff that other possible uses. What is the gap understanding that the senior population's asking for something, and whether we rebrand that or go somewhere like the Legion or the Lions Club or the West Back Room to look for space. But I think we need a creative solution before we can come back and decide whether or not we need to spend money or what other things are possible. So hopefully that's understandable. But
through the chair to the chair, correct me if I'm wrong, you're asking the department to come back with a report, and I'm gonna kind of build on the deputy mayor's comment about the senior services that the department currently provides, what we're providing the seniors, and what we're missing providing the seniors. Is that what you're asking for?
Partially, but also knowing the gap, what other creative solutions are available in terms of space. So not just our own space, but partnerships with service organizations, and not just seniors, but also gaps. We've heard the community say they'd like more of a community center. So I'm just asking director for some creativity, come back, because I can't make a decision whether or not to spend any more money if we don't know if there's a real use for it. There's a perceived use, but don't know if there's a real use that makes sense. So I think we got the gist of a motion there. Do you need that to come in a motion, Director?
It should, yes.
Okay. Someone to second my motion for great. What's that? You need to vacate the seat?
That was going to be my question. Or do you want me just to make the motion on your behalf?
Deputy Mayor?
If you can read the motion back to me, then I'll make it.
I apologize, but I don't, think my motion is rather meandering.
What,
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, CAO,
If I may, so the motion that I originally made deferred everything else back to the second meeting in the new year.
Right.
Because I think we're going into budgets and everybody's gonna be really busy. So, well, I'm just wondering, do we park this and bring it, we'll talk about it at the second meeting of the new year, and give the director a chance to have a breather, because everybody's into budgets.
Okay, fair. I'll withdraw the motion.
I get a big thumbs up from the director.
That's good.
Well, I might.
I got it. Okay, was there any other discussion on 37 Frank Street? Councillor Brennan.
So we're not spending $10,000 to $15,000 on a business, on assessment. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Derbyshire.
Can I just ask one quick question? Is it safe enough for any one of the councillors to go in and see with the right people to show them what could be wrong, what might not be wrong, just so that you can have a visual of what this place looks like, what's been robbed, what hasn't, what, I don't mean robbed, but borrowed to put somewhere else, like you said, but.
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, I'd be glad to take any one of them to that facility anytime. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on 37 Frank? Councillor Peltman.
Just a point of order, do we need to deal with the recommendations in the report that we're receiving it for information?
We received it for information. We did that.
We did do that already?
Yes, we did that. Yep. Next is the holiday bench display, the BIA and municipal partnership. Motion to receive the report. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Wilsey. All in favor? Carried. Wish to speak to the report, Rob.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try to make this brief. We have BIA has reached out with regards to partnering with the municipality on the purchase of a bench and some statues to create a bit of a holiday theme and a photo location to help attract some foot traffic into the downtown core during the holiday season. So it would be a 50-50 partnership with the BIA. The funds would come from the municipality through the Progress Through Partnership Program in the value of $2,938. There is a typo on last page where it says there would be $7,000 remaining. It would be $17,000 remaining in the PTP funds.
Any questions, Director? Councillor Hippel.
Actually, I don't have any questions about that. I think it's a great idea, but the $17,000, it remains for projects that develop through the remaining months of 2024. What happens when we hit 2025?
Through the chair to Councillor Hippel, it's an operating budget line, so it would be another $40,000 asked at budget time to replenish the Progress Through Partnership Fund.
Any other? Councillor Peltman.
Yeah, I just think this is a perfect use for those funds. If we look way back into, it was 2003 or 2004 when the Arts Council and the municipality did the Arts and Cultural Master Plan. This is exactly the kind of thing that it talked about was, doing something creative to get people out of their houses and into the downtown core, because you need to get them into the downtown core to spend money, and it just needs to get them out of their house. And this is a perfect example of using something with some creativity to create something special for families to walk downtown and get out of their vehicles and their homes.
Any other comments? Councillor Brennan.
I say 9 Santa hats in a council photo op.
Are there any further questions? Someone to bring a motion? There are two choices. So someone bring a motion either to approve or deny. Councillor Wilsey.
I'll bring a motion to approve it.
Okay, someone to second. Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. CAO reports, delegation of authority bylaws, revision. Motion to receive the report. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Derbyshire. in favor? Carried. CAO McKee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you, this is the follow-up report to the Strategic Priorities Committee discussion that we had in July regarding several of these bylaws. Again, these are just sort of some of the main delegation of authority bylaws. There are other bylaws and other sort of legislative delegation of authority, but this is sort of just the start of the main ones to look at. As you can see in the report, if you look on page 4 of the report, I highlighted in there the changes that were made to the delegation of authority bylaw. And again, these were all discussed at the Strategic Priorities Committee meeting. So on page 3, there was the sub-delegation in the event of the CAO's office is a vacant position. We made the change as directed from council to remain vacant until designated by council. There also was a change made on page 4. Council had some concern that the original A and E sort of were very similar statements. They have been condensed and made clearer into one section, which is A. Page 7, 8.0, we've updated the Police Services Act to read Community Safety and Policing Act. And then on page 7, the Director of Information Technology, we added the verbiage following the purchasing policy and with budget approvals. So those were the changes that were directed to be made. The other changes, excuse me, was in regards to the disposition of land policy. There were 3 changes recommended from council. 5.0 was notice, wanted to include all of the following methods. So there were 4 or 5 methods of notice that were provided. The original statement said one of, council wanted it to be changed all. The method of sale, unsolicited offers, council wished to receive all unsolicited offers were to be presented to council, and that has been added in the verbiage. And then on page 8, some clarity in regards to the verbiage for sale of unopened road allowances, and that verbiage has been made clearer in that bylaw. The 3rd change was made to the temporary road closure bylaw and was just updated to reflect the title of Director of Engineering and Public Works. So those were the discussion items that were held at the Strategic Priority Committee meeting, and those have been made to the bylaws, and tonight we're seeking approval from council and to move these forward to be approved by or adopted by bylaw.
Councillor Wilsey.
Just a clarification on the sale and disposition of land. During the meeting, I thought we talked about land, if it was surplus, had to come back to council before it was listed for sale. Was that a change that was in here, or is the CAO or someone else able to do that without having surplus land go to sale? Because I thought we talked about that, but I didn't hear that tonight.
Sorry, I'm just seeking sort of some clarity here. So are you requesting, sorry, that surplus lands, if there's an offer for a purchase of a surplus land, whether it comes back to council? Is that?
No, that would be under the unsolicited offers, but just that there was issues that I've heard from the town before about land that was declared surplus and was sold without it necessarily coming back to council. So I just want to make sure that any sales came through council.
I think that's already in the bylaw. I don't think any land can be sold without council.
I think once it's surplus, it can. I thought I had to.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, the bylaw is written so that council has the final approval for all sale of land. So all council is required to give direction for the sale of land. There's no delegation of authority for that. It comes back to council.
Councillor Pammer.
Just to clarify on that point, is council, do you require council's approval before putting it up for sale? Is that what we're talking about? Because when you say sale of the land, that could be implied that we have final say on the actual offer, if we have an offer to purchase, to agree to sell it. But does the CAO also need approval from council to list it for sale?
So under section 5 of the bylaw, which is notice, it does say following a declaration by council pursuant to section 4E, and 4E is sort of the steps that have to be followed, and your intent to sell real property, and if confirmed, shall determine the most appropriate procedure. So council is giving direction on the how that land or how that property is to be sold. So council is giving clear direction of how they want that land to be disposed of. And then it is carried out according to the appropriate procedures in section 6. So it is laid out as to the steps in the bylaw. So council is going to declare it, and you're going to tell staff how you would like that property sold.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Seeing none, motion that bylaw 104-24, the delegation of council authority bylaw, 102-24, temporary road closure bylaw, and bylaw 103-24, the sale and disposition of land policy before the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda. Someone bring Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Wilsey. All in favor? Carried. Motion to receive the report on the list of outstanding motions. Councillor Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you tonight, Council, is a list of the outstanding motions for review. As it's outlined in the report, there were 132 requests for reports, policies, and directives. 93 have been returned to Council for consideration, and the list before you is the outstanding items. Many of these items are currently being worked on by staff and will be coming forward in future reports, but I'm happy to answer any questions that any members of the Council may have.
Any questions? Councillor Wilsey.
Just, I guess I'm a little bit at a loss. Like, why did this report of things that we're working on with staff take 5 months to come back to council? That seems like a really long time to get a list of outstanding motions.
Yep, CAO.
Through the chair, it took us some time to compile it in this format for council, and just on the list of priorities that were happening, it took the amount of time that it did.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor.
Two, I think, on the question with Councillor Wilsey. So now that we have like a flowing PDF, will all motions start to populate into this? So if a similar request was ever made, it would just be so much easier for everybody to get the information?
Through the chair to council. So currently, for staff, resolutions, we use eScribe. So when a resolution is populated into the minutes, the clerk's department can then assign the task to that staff member. So they get an email notification of the task. So that's one method that is occurring. And yes, we do have a running list that we will be keeping as well, that we will review at staff meetings.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Obviously, one of the reasons we asked for this, or I asked for this, I believe, and council supported it, the idea of eliminating some of these. So I don't know that I'm prepared to do that tonight, but do you have any recommendations to us of ones that you think could be eliminated? And again, you don't need to answer this evening. But I guess perhaps what I would motion then is when we take this PDF document and defer anything else on it for, I'll go to the third meeting of the new year so that I space things out, so it gives us a bit to go through them. Or just, I know we want to get them ripped down, and I think there are some. I think some of them, I see here a lot of them involve the fire department, so I'll go talk to Chief Smith and get his opinion as to where do we stand on certain things. But I don't want to push it out too far, but how do we best deal with that?
Through the chair to council, so there are several of these that are underway. Like, there are several of these reports that are going to be coming back. For example, I believe there are 6 or 7 that are, or five I believe, that are in reference to reports coming back to Strategic Priorities Committee meeting. So we have dates booked out well into the new year for those meetings, for those reports to come forward to meetings. Certainly if council would like a report back on my recommendations of what could be removed, I can do that if that is the desire of council.
Could I then have that back earlier? Like, because the whole idea is to alleviate some workload for staff, so we need a date. If you can apply a date to it, it would be wonderful, thank you.
Through the chair, would the first meeting in December be enough time?
Thank you, then I'll motion that we defer to the first meeting of December for a report from the CAO on recommendations.
Someone a second motion? Councillor Pammer, questions? Just gonna follow up on that. I wasn't sure what the forum was going to be to talk about ones I thought could be, I actually highlighted 6 or 7 I thought were stale dated or dead, but whatever the proper form is. Councillor Wilsey.
So just as a follow-up to my first question.
We have a motion on the floor.
Right, and it comes to that.
Yep.
If everything is already in eScribe and everything's just maintained, and it should be really, really easy to make a PDF and go through them. But the other part is, we're talking about this list. I've got a list of about 5 different motions that have been made. One of them was deputy mayors, just on the boundary expansion and some of the information coming back from staff that aren't on this list. So, knowing I've got a list of 5 different motions that have been approved by council that aren't on this list, what do we do about all the ones that are not on this list and probably not being worked on? I guess on one hand, if everything's easy to pull out of eScribe, it makes it hard to believe that it was 5 months to make this report if it's just pulling out a simple report. It sounds like there's more difficulty in there, especially when there's reports being missed. So if we're just going to delay it, I don't know if we're really accomplishing anything rather than kicking it down the road.
Okay. Well, we have a second motion on the floor, so all in favor of the deputy mayor's motion? Oh, sorry, Bo, didn't see your hand.
Sorry, I guess I kind of thought maybe the deputy mayor was going to make this. Is there a way for us to have access to this on kind of a ongoing thing? You know, there's lots of times where you sit back or somebody says, geez, you know, how come you guys don't look into this? And I say, I think we made a motion about that, but I'm not sure. Like, is there any way for us to have a list of the motions, and as they kind of get knocked off, it would be nice to say, resolution was this, and it kind of be held in its own file. And you know, maybe they get discarded every year, go somewhere up to a cloud or wherever the heck you hide these things. But something that we can access and look back and say, that is a motion, I don't need to make it, we're looking into this, and that kind of stuff. Whereas otherwise I gotta go back through videos and archives and begin to look like, I mean, now I guess I'm doing more research again. So is that a possibility for us to have something like this every kind of updated every once in a while?
Through the chair to council, so it's on council's discretion of how often you would like to see this list from myself.
Okay. Yeah, we still have a motion, so unless it's to do with the deputy mayor's motion, or to deal with the motion on the floor. So we have a motion from the deputy mayor. Could you read it back, Brianna?
Moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by councillor Pammer, that consideration of this report be deferred until the first meeting of December, pending a report from the CAO regarding possible reports to remove from the list.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Carried. Apologize, Councillor Hippel. Just wanted to deal with the motion.
Absolutely. So, like, I just have actually, it's kind of a silly question, but it's not a silly question. Because I'm looking at all the reports that were done and finalized and finished, and that's, holy smokes, that was a lot. I'm looking at all the reports that are sitting here that are active, and that's a lot. And the reason I bring this up is because this is just what we've asked. So this doesn't, I'm assuming, and I'm asking the CAO this doesn't even include all of the ones that they're working on that have nothing to do with us asking for the reports. I mean, they're day-to-day what's going on. Am I correct? Like, I mean, we can't, and please don't think I'm asking for a list of that, because I'm not. But I'm assuming these are just the ones that we've asked. This doesn't even touch on the ones that they're working on daily. Is that correct?
CAO.
Through the chair, yes. So these are just the reports asked from council. So it doesn't include the ones that are initiated from staff.
Okay. Yeah, one more, then we're gonna move on to.
Okay. Well, just, there was some conversation and the CAO asked how often we wanted to see it. So I would say that I'll make a motion then that a list like this, I think PDF is the way to go because it's usually searchable, of all motions made by council be kept and brought to council order by the CAO.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, through the chair to the deputy mayor, some clarification, just as the clerk's department, because there are a number of motions, so you would like all resolutions, not just the report requests? Because, for example, there could be, for example, this evening, there was a resolution.
No, I think report, like where we're making a request of staff, so we're waiting for a report from staff. So I guess if we request a staff report.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify so that the listing wouldn't include every single resolution.
Right, yeah, no, I think, yeah, just we've asked for a report, so we just want to be able to track that and see, we'll see it quarterly.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Have a seconder your motion. We need a seconder to discuss it first. Are you seconded it?
I'll second to put it.
Seconded, okay, yep. Then you got a question.
So essentially, I think what we're asking is that this become a live document. And that now that this has been created, when an item is taken off the list, it just disappears from the live document. And when an item is added, it just get added. Like, for instance, we just added one that the CAO is going to come back with a report. Well, that's now on here as an outstanding report. It's just a live document. And if we have a live document that's just going to be updated, then maybe, you know, we have a look at it every 6 weeks or something like that, or just periodic.
I just said quarter.
Or quarter, but I mean, it's a live document, and if we're wondering how many outstanding reports there are, it's a live document. We can probably just ask the CAO how many live documents there are, how many are on there today. And you know, like right now, if there were 39, now there's 40 because we've asked for one more. But you know, down the road, 6 might come off, and this document just changes. So I think in terms of managing workflow, in terms of council reports, if this becomes a live document that can be easily updated, then I think a lot of the work's already been done, and things are just added and subtracted, and we look at it every arbitrary period of weeks.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of the deputy mayor's motion? Carried. Reports from boards and committees. There are 3 to be received for information. St. Clair Conservation Authority, June 27th. St. Clair Conservation Authority from September 19th. And the Tri-Township Arena Board meeting minutes from September 8th. Motion to receive those for information. Councillor Hippel, second by Deputy Mayor. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Deputy Mayor, the county highlights report.
There's the report that's added. We need a meeting tomorrow, so. Yeah, I'm always being caught because of the scheduling of the meetings.
Inquiries or comments? We'll start with Councillor Hippel.
Thank you. I'm just going to make one comment. Our high school STCI had their graduation this past Friday, and there was well over 200 students. And I was extremely impressed and thrilled with the students that were walking across the stage, because these young men and women are our future. They are heavily in, I did notice a shift when asking what they were planning on doing, and a lot of them, I would say 2/3 of them were going into trades, but there was just all kinds of incredible futures at their fingertips. But the reason I bring this up, A, is because we have an incredible high school in our municipality, and I think as a council and future councils, we want to be able to keep these young men and young women in our municipality, or to come back to our municipality and make this their home, make this the place that they want to start a business, be involved in a business, create families, and create growth, and to sit in the seats that we're sitting at, because our municipality is their municipality, and wouldn't that be fantastic if they could be the ones sitting in our seats and making decisions for their children. So congratulations to every single one of them, and I wish them nothing but ultimate happiness and success, and kudos to our municipality for having such a great school system. That's it for me.
Councillor Wilsey.
I wanted to say thank you to the community for supporting Apple Day for the Scouts this past weekend. It was great. We had a lot of people donated much more than an apple was worth just to support Scouts, and a lot of comments on how they were glad to see community involvement and the kids being out. And the Scouts are also in both communities very grateful for the donations that were received. So a big thank you to the Scouts and the leaders who donate their time and keep going on that, and also a bigger community thank you to the community that supports them.
Councillor Brennan.
The street cleaner came down my street today, which was nice to see, because it gets the leaves out of the gutters, and it helps drainage when we have a storm. And so I'm going to implore people in town, rake and bag your leaves or mulch your leaves, but don't use your leaf blower to blow them out into the street, because we're trying to keep the drains clear. And so please, if you have a leaf blower, blow them into a pile, and then either mulch them or bag them. But don't just blow them in the street for, it's going to block the drains, it just blows down the street. So, and it's also dangerous for people who ride motorcycles. So please, bag or mulch, don't just blow your leaves onto the street. Thank you.
Councillor Paul.
Yes, thank you. So the street lights are active on the corner of Metcalf and Head Street. And I've been pushing for those for about 5 years, so I'm very happy to see them functional. I want to thank the mayor and the deputy mayor, because I spoke to both of you right off the hop of this council that it needed to happen, and you guys made sure it got approved in the first budget cycle of this council. And I know there were some comments online about why it took so long. I did have when I attended a county event earlier this year, spoke to the two individuals that were responsible for that project, and it was a matter of the boulevard being so narrow and there being so many services running through there from private sector services that they all needed to move their stuff in order to get the street lights there. So that took some time. I want to thank the county people for making it happen. I think the intersection is already safer. It's working as it's intended to. The other day I came up and there were 5 cars waiting to turn left on Metcalf and no one going through straight except for me, which tells you the volume of traffic and where it's positioned, how much is going up Head Street. And then similarly, coming the other way, there was quite a lineup of cars coming out on, but again, nobody on the south side of Head Street. So there's a huge discrepancy of volumes in terms of the way that intersection is working. So I think the street lights make it a lot safer. And secondly, I just like to support the staff in terms of the reports coming, the workload. We've been having a lot of meetings over the past year. We don't own our staff 24/7. We own them for approximately 37 and a half hours a week. And given I know they all work extra time to make the meetings happen. So I just want to thank them for their work and getting the information to us and putting out the fires when they needed to put out, and prioritizing when they need to.
Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you. I just had an inquiry as to where we are at with the Caradoc Housing Corporation audit, for lack of a better way of putting it. I don't need an answer tonight if you don't have it. I just was wondering if at some point we could, it's been a while since we've heard about it, so I wondered where we were at.
Through the chair to council, we are providing BDO with the information required. I can certainly get an update from them on a timeline.
Yep. Go ahead, Councillor.
Sorry. The other part of that was, were they still looking for input from us? Or were they gonna reach out? I guess that was my kind of question. Are they gonna reach out to us, or do we have to reach out to them?
CAO.
Through the chair to council, I have shared contact information with BDO for council, so they will be reaching out to you.
Yep. Councillor Hammer.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight our growing Strathroy-Caradoc podcast. If you haven't tuned into that, I encourage you to give it a listen. It's a product of our economic development department, specifically Heather Lalonde, and a shout out to Heather because for the podcast, they won, I'm just reading it here, the Award of Excellence from the Economic Developer Association of Canada. So congratulations to them on their podcast success, and I encourage everybody to tune in, and if you can participate in some way, even better.
Deputy Mayor.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
I'm going to piggyback on your comments, Councillor Palkman, because I'm a little frustrated about the length of time it takes for stoplights in the county. Last week, I think Thursday or Friday, there was a motor vehicle accident at Glendon and Melbourne, and thankfully no one was injured, but it was a bad one. They had to extricate one person, and we brought the motion for the lights, and I know all the reasons, but I'll be speaking tomorrow at county. I'll have a meeting with the county engineer before. It does seem to take an inordinate amount of time to get them, and 5 years is a long time. I'm also concerned that if it takes that long, we need more stoplights in this community. If you drive down Caradoc Street from Metcalfe to Carroll, there's no stoplight in between. And we're gonna need stoplights in Mount Bridges soon. So the purpose of tomorrow is just to bring up, we need to move faster, and they need to be more, I'm putting it on my town hat now, not my county hat, but they need to be more receptive to our needs, not just, you know, Strathroy-Caradoc, but also every municipality, and move quicker. I'm frustrated because it does seem to take a long time, and thankfully no one was hurt at that corner last week, but it was a pretty bad accident. So appreciate the comments, but it's on my radar screen for tomorrow. That being said, schedule of meetings. Our next regular council meeting is Monday, November 4th at 6 p.m. We'll now move into closed session. I'm going to ask everyone to wait until we adjourn to go into motion that council enter closed session at 7:58 to discuss the following. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes of October 7th. Two items pursuant to section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, the Adelaide Metcalfe Servicing OLT hearing. Two items pursuant to section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, specifically the Adelaide Metcalfe Servicing hearing. One item pursuant to section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act as amended regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, specifically 40 Metcalfe Street. Motion to go into closed session, Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Take a motion that council recess at 8 o'clock for 10 minutes. We'll reconvene at 8:10. Someone bring the motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Hammer. All in favor? 8:10, folks. Motion that open session resume at 9:14 p.m. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Pammer. All in favor? Carried. Council met in closed session to consider matters it is permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and is listed on tonight's council agenda. The following items were considered during the closed session. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes of October 7th. The meeting minutes were approved. Two items pursuant to section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and two items pursuant to section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act as amended regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Adelaide Metcalf servicing hearing. Council received an update from legal counsel. Direction was given to legal counsel. One item pursuant to section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality 40 Metcalf Street. Council received a confidential staff report for information. Direction was given to staff. Call for motion that the direction given in closed session be approved. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Consideration of bylaws. The bylaw number 100-24, bylaw number 100-24, bylaw number 99-24, bylaw number 98-24, bylaw number 102-24, bylaw number 103-24, and bylaw number 104-24 received first, second, third, and final reading. Councilor Brandon, second by Councilor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried.
Could you repeat that, please?
Bylaw number 87-24 received third and final reading. Councilor Pammer. Councilor Brandon. All in favor? Carried. Motion of the October 21st regular council meeting adjourned at 9:16. Councilor Pelkman. Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried.